All right, let's talk about building a blueprint for one of the most powerful technologies humans have ever created, artificial intelligence. You know, to make sure AI actually works for everyone, and not just for a handful of people, we first have to really understand the 5 biggest hurdles we need to clear. So, let's dive right in.
And look, this isn't some far-off science fiction idea. This is happening right now. AI is quietly influencing everything, from the job ads you see in your feed to the interest rate you get on a loan, and even the kind of information your doctor looks at. Its impact is real, it's personal, and it is growing every single day.
So, to get a handle on this new world, we're going to break it down into 5 key challenges. We'll look at the problem, and then we'll look at the potential solutions for each one. We're going to start with the fuel that makes all AI run, our data.
Okay, first up, the data privacy dilemma. At its very core, AI needs data to learn. And a whole lot of that data, it's our data, personal, sensitive information. And that creates this fundamental tension that we absolutely have to solve. So here's the real catch. The more data an AI gets, the smarter and better it can become. But every single piece of personal information it takes in also raises the stakes. It increases the risk of privacy violations and security breaches if things aren't handled perfectly. It's a really high-stakes balancing act.
Which, of course, brings up the big question. How do we feed these incredibly powerful systems the information they need while at the same time protecting one of our most basic rights? The good news is, there are some pretty clear strategies we can use.
The solution is really a defense with multiple layers. It all starts with the technical stuff, like encrypting data so it's just gibberish if it gets stolen, and anonymizing it by stripping out anything that could identify you. It also means we have to follow really strict rules like GDPR. But maybe the most important part is this idea of privacy by design, where the safeguards are built in from the very start, not just tacked on as an afterthought. Now for our second challenge, bias in the machine. And it's so important to get this straight. AI isn't just born biased, it learns from the information we feed it. So if our data reflects our own historical biases, well, the AI is going to learn those biases, and sometimes it can even make them worse.
You've probably heard the saying, garbage in, garbage out, right? Well, this is a perfect and kind of scary example. If we train an AI on hiring data that, for decades, favored one group of people over another, the AI is just going to learn to copy that unfairness. And that leads to some seriously biased and discriminatory decisions. And this is where it gets really dangerous. This is not some theoretical problem. It has huge real-world consequences. An AI could deny a totally qualified person a loan or a job just because it learned from biased old data. The harm that can cause is just immense. So, clearly, we can't just build this tech, cross our fingers, and hope for the best. We have to be proactive. We have to actually teach these systems what fairness looks like. But how do you even do that? Well, it's not just one thing. It's a few big things working together. First, we need better data. Data that's actually diverse and looks like the real world. Second, we have to constantly check our systems for bias, kind of like a mechanic running diagnostics on an engine. And finally, it takes teamwork. We need the coders working right alongside ethicists and social scientists to make sure we're getting this right. This actually leads us perfectly into our third challenge, opening the black box. Honestly, this is one of the most mind-bending parts of modern AI. A lot of the most powerful systems, they make decisions in ways that are a complete mystery, even to the people who built them. Just think about that for a second. An AI could recommend a specific medical treatment, but we might have no idea why. That lack of transparency is a massive roadblock to trust. I mean, if a doctor can't understand the AI's logic, how can they feel confident in its recommendation? And how can we hold an AI accountable for a mistake if we don't even know how it works? So the answer to this black box problem is a whole field called Explainable AI, or XAI for short. Its entire purpose is to create tools that can shine a light inside that box to translate all those complex calculations into something a normal human can actually understand and trust. So how does it actually work? Well, there are a few clever ways. We can build AI models that are simpler and just easier to interpret from the get-go. We can create visualizations that literally map out the AI's decision-making path, or we can even have the AI write up a simple plain English summary explaining its choices. It's all about building a bridge between machine logic and human understanding. Okay, so we've talked about data, bias, and transparency. Now we need to talk about the rules of the game, which brings us to our fourth section, the AI rulebook. We're building this incredible technology at a dizzying pace, but our laws and our ethical guidelines, they're struggling to keep up. And that's the real issue here. We've got these incredibly powerful new tools, but we don't have a complete set of rules for how to use them safely and ethically. This gap leaves us wide open to everything from accidents to someone deliberately misusing the tech. And that leads to one of the thorniest questions out there. I mean, think about this. If a self-driving car causes an accident, who's at fault? Is it the owner, the car company, the programmer who wrote that specific line of code? Without a clear rulebook, these questions of accountability are almost impossible to answer. So what's the solution? Honestly, it has to be a massive collaborative effort. We need governments to step up and create clear rules. We need the industry to establish who's accountable for what. But this can't just be decided behind closed doors. It requires a huge public conversation to make sure the rules we create actually reflect the values we all share.
And that brings us to our fifth and final challenge, the technical limits of AI itself. Because for all the hype, today's AI is very much a work in progress. It still has some very real hurdles to clear.
For example, a lot of AI systems are surprisingly brittle. They're great at the specific thing they were trained on, but they really struggle to apply that knowledge to new situations they've never seen before. They can also be fooled by something called adversarial attacks, tiny, often invisible changes to data that can cause them to make gigantic mistakes. And finally, training the biggest and best AI models takes a staggering amount of computer power, which has its own environmental and financial costs. The way forward here is really all about non-stop innovation. It means researchers have to create tougher, more robust models that can handle new situations. It means building stronger defenses against those attacks. And it might even mean exploring completely new ways of computing. It's an ongoing mission, really, driven by brilliant people in both universities and the tech industry. So there you have it. That's our blueprint. By tackling data privacy, by fighting bias, by demanding transparency, by writing the rules, and by pushing past the technology's own limits, that's how we move from just building powerful AI to building responsible AI, an AI that's fair, that's safe, and that truly works for everyone. But this whole conversation leaves us with one last massive question. We have the blueprint. We know what the challenges are. So who holds the ultimate responsibility for getting this right? Is it the developers, the big companies, the government? Or is it something we all share as a society? The answer to that is going to shape everything.